Hemsley explains the new Bucky Challenge class.
Well, it's a project involving Toyota, Top Car, Automark, and Castrol. We're looking at bringing more interest to rallying by testing the fielding of one-ton pickups as a relatively cheap form of rallying.
Serge Damso was much happier with his car after the technicians had applied oil to the moving parts of his Toyota suspension to free it up. Trouble for the leaders as Hubig and Judd started special stage 8. A broken side shaft was to lose them over 3 minutes, and with it the overall lead. They dropped back to 4th behind Piazza Musso, Serge Damso and Etienne Lawrence. Nothing was troubling Lawrence and Paisley in the Team Total Toyota Conquest, and they were happy to move up a place. Locals Peter Altersky and Clive Densham were caught out in their Mr. Toyota Conquest. Densham hurt his back in the accident and was admitted to hospital for observation, but later released. There was frantic activity around the Stanbrink VW Golf.
Yeah, we did a bit of some work on the left front drive shaft at the previous service point, and then obviously didn't go back into position in the right place. And at the start of the last stage, it obviously sheared off. So we had to do 11 kilometers with one drive shaft, and we've lost 3.5 minutes. So it's made a bit of a mess with our plans, but we'll see what we can do.
Darkness had fallen by the time the final stage of the day got underway. It was a spectator-orientated affair, but clouds of dust made it difficult for the competitors to see, and there was more than one car on the stage at a time. Serge Damso benefited from being first car on the road, and he took 17 seconds off Piazza Musso's overall lead and a massive 41 seconds off the luckless Habig. While it was tough on the competitors, it was great fun for the hundreds of spectators who gathered at Alexandra Park for the 4-lap contest. So, after 10 special stages, the results at the end of the first day, the Stanek FML Tour Natal, had Piazza Musso and Haddon in the lead in the Sassel Ford Escort, 12 seconds in front of Damso and Bonafide in the Castrol Toyota Conquest.
We're home, and we're first for today, so that makes us really happy for the Sassel Ford team. We tried really hard, and to be car number 1 tomorrow is great for us. We're really happy with this achievement.
Day 2 took competitors down the KwaZulu-Natal south coast for 10 special stages in the Park Riney and Umzinto areas. This is familiar territory for regulars on the National Championship circuit, and in contrast to the searing heat of the previous day, conditions were cool and cloudy, with ever-present threat of rain. Overnight leaders Paolo Piazza Musso and Nick Haddon in the Sassel Ford Escort were going to come under pressure from Serge Damso and Vita Bonafide with a fantastic duel on the cards. Damso and Bonafide rolled the Castrol Toyota Conquest on the first stage of Day 2 in last year's Tour Natal, but had everything under control this time around and posted exactly the same stage as Piazza Musso and Haddon. Behind Damso and Bonafide, reigning South African champions Jannie Hubig and Douglas Judd in the Stanbrink VW Golf had plenty of ground to make up. They were 3 minutes down on Piazza Musso and Haddon and 73 seconds behind third place Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley. Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding in the Reeks towing VW Golf were at the front of Class A7, and further down the field a terrific battle was unfolding in Class A6. At the overnight halt, Damso and Aris were 17 seconds ahead of Fecken and Lukowitz in the Dania Conquest, who went straight onto the attack and took 14 seconds off the team total pair in the first 2 stages. At the front of the Group N standings, Diffie Murray and Dani Duval were cruising along in the Toyota Corolla and looked to have everything under control. Also on an early day to charge were Craig Trott and Brian Duncan in another of the team total entries, with Cape youngsters Richard Bem and Jonathan Bright continuing to impress in the little Opel Corsa, which was running second to the Murray Duval car. Natalians Tony Ball and Alec Harris had quietly slipped into 5th place, with the locals unconcerned about intermittent rain and the possibility of deteriorating road conditions.
The rain's coming down, but it's not wet enough to get slippery. These roads are all weather, so I'm hoping they're going to stay like it all day. It's not mud tyre country yet.
It may not have been time for mud tyres, but the conditions were such that the unwary were always in danger of being caught out. Rally leaders Piazza Musso and Nick Haddon dropped 3 seconds to Serge Damso and Vita Bonafede on special stage 12, and the Sassel Ford escort crew were now under severe pressure. Leading a national championship rally was a new experience for Piazza Musso and Haddon, and the pressure continued to mount as Damso and Bonafede gained another 4 seconds in special stage 13. Where Damso and Bonafede were concerned, the pressure up front is old hat, and to the 6 times champions, they were quietly chipping away at the tenuous lead held by the Sassel Ford escort crew. While Damso and Bonafede were challenging for the overall lead, the chase was also on for Jannie Hubbig and Douglas Judd. The Stanbrick VW crew were starting to haul in Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley, while Tony Ball and Alec Harris continued to cement their hold on 5th place. At the central service point, technical crews were also struggling in difficult conditions, and Paolo Piazza Musso had a tale to tell of near disaster.
The first 3 stages this morning are going great. We're doing good times. This last stage, stage 13, we encountered a bit of a problem. We found another vehicle in the stage head-on, and luckily we just missed him. We actually just hit him with the side of the car. You can probably see the damage there. So we got off quite lightly, but it was a scary moment for us.
Special stage 14 saw Serge Damso and Vita Bonafede go into the lead for the first time on the event, but for the other member of the Damso family, Jean Pierre, the news wasn't as good. Young Damso and Pierre Aris in the Team Total Toyota Conquest had slipped 4 seconds behind Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the battle at the top of Class A6. The talented Fecken and Lukowitz struggled to find reliability in last year's championship, but were having a terrific run. The pair had moved up to 6th place, but were under a little pressure from Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding, who were fighting their way back through the field. The pair lost over a minute in special stage 13 with a broken side shaft, but now had Fecken and Lukowitz and the Ball-Harris combination in their sights. Rallying in KwaZulu-Natal sugarcane plantations is a little like driving through a tunnel, and more open roads are a welcome relief for the crews. Diffie Murray and Donnie Duval were still in full control at the front of Group N category, with the Western Cape pair more than 2 minutes ahead of Richard Bem and Jonathan Bright. Roman Barr and Henry Marsberg were on the fringes of a top 10 placing and had been overtaken by Craig Trott and Brian Duncan, who are now into the top 10. The Team Total pair were having a good day too, and had also moved ahead of the Opel Corsa of Richard Bem and Jonathan Bright, who were running second to Murray and Duval in the Group N category. In another impressive display, Alan Worms and Ashley Gericke were lying 15th overall in their 1300 Opel Corsa. The Team Total entry of Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper were trying hard to make up time on the other competitors in the Group N category. Craig Trott and Brian Duncan were amongst those moving up the Day 2 leaderboard, with Trott understandably happy with progress.
Not too bad today. New car, decent roads, still trying to get used to it. We should have a good run. We've made up 2 places already this morning, and we're looking forward to a good event the rest of the day.
At the front of the field, Paolo Piazza Musso and Nick Haddon were still first on the road, but were losing ground to Serge Damso and Vita Bonafede. The Sassel Ford crew were also worried about an overheating warning light that kept flashing, and were a little reluctant to push the Ford Escort to the limit. Special stage 16 was very slippery in patches, and it was tough going for crews. Back in what is a familiar situation for them at the top of the leaderboard, Damso and Bonafede were quietly and efficiently going about consolidating the ever-increasing gap between themselves and the Ford, while a steady performance saw Lawrence and Paisley hang on to their 3rd position. Back in 4th place, a terrific charge by South African champions Jannie Hubbig and Douglas Judd had taken the Stanbrick VW Golf to within half a minute of Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley. Hubbig and Judd had made up more than 40 seconds on the Natalians, but lost it all when they spun on stage 16. Special stage 16 also saw Tony Ball and Alec Harris lose 7 minutes through a broken side shaft and suspension problems. At the service point, a rueful Judd admitted to a gamble that had not paid off.
We went in with the wrong tyres. It's very wet at the moment, and we took a bit of a chance, and it didn't pay off. We spun out on the corner, couldn't select reverse, and then the engine stalled and took a lot of time getting going again. So we've now lost a minute on the guys that we were chasing.
With the event now into its closing stages, some interesting little cameos had developed. Barry Krobler and Mike Burrows had moved up to 8th in their team total VW Golf and were chasing after the team total conquest of Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris. Damso and Aris were now around 20 seconds adrift of Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Class A6 battle, with the Dunair crew under severe pressure from Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding, who were at the front of Class A7. Only seconds separated the Dunair car and the Reeks towing VW Golf, with a top 5 finish also at stake. Eastern Cape driver Gijs Klein and Carolyn Simmer were at the front of the Class N3 in the team total VW Golf, with Richard Bem and Jonathan Bright now leading the Group N category and Class N3 after the demise of Diffie Murray and Donny Duval, who were also victims of Special Stage 16.
We just managed to go past Ergen. We're now 1 second in front of him. So there's just no, we can't afford a mistake now in this next stage. So hopefully we can maintain the 5th position.
Into the final special stage with Paolo Piazzamusso and Nick Haddon now 1 minute and 40 seconds adrift of Serge Damso and Vita Bonafide, who were getting their season off to a flying start. Craig Trott and Brian Duncan were holding on to 10th place after a stirring Day 2 performance, while back in the field, an adventurous outing had taken Alan Worms and Ashley Gericke to the front of Class N1. Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper were still chasing after Group N leaders Richard Bem and Jonathan Bright, with the brother and sister combination of Yaki and Lisa Joubert at the front of Class N3 in a Nissan Sentra. Doug Kemsley and Jerry Gericke were leading the Stanek Bucky Challenge, with the pair providing for plenty of entertainment in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. The overall results then, with Serge Damso and Vita Bonafide 1 minute and 41 seconds clear of Piazzamusso and Haddon. Lawrence and Paisley made a great start to their Class A8 career. Van der Walt and Harding won Class A7, with a terrific result for Fecken and Lukowitz, who took Class A6, and an impressive display giving Ben and Bright 11th place overall and victory in the Group N category, and a great start to the season for the Castrol Toyota team.
Yesterday we sort of settled down, and this morning we had a good weather change, so it made it interesting, and it was good to see 3 different leaders on the event.
The traditional champagne celebrations for a couple of old-timers and 2 members of the young guard in Group N winners Richard Bem and Jonathan Bright.